चलो एक मिनट दोबारा हो चलें कोई
लाइव होती से इकबाल साहब डिस्कनेक्ट
हाँ वो कुछ इशू आ रहा है आई डोंट नो क्या आई थिंक वो दो प्रोफाइल से हैं ये कुछ इस तरह लेट मी स्टार्ट विद स्पीकर व्यू एंड ओके फैसल वी आर बैक लेट्स जस्ट वो लोगों के वो चेक करें व्यूज यहाँ पे जब बढ़े थोड़े से देन विल बी स्टार्टिंग
joining again.
Yeah, I think वो दोबारा आ रहे हैं सर अच्छा so actually it would be recorded so we'll move on to the next जो हमारा question है कि what subjects are important in building services field especially in case क्योंकि not everyone I would say is मतलब temperament जारी बात है कुछ लोगों का जॉब का बहुत ज़्यादा होता है और स्पेशली क्योंकि आपकी बिल्डिंग सर्विसेज की फील्ड में काफ़ी टाइम आपने गुजारा हुआ है तो आप क्या मतलब सजेस्ट करेंगे कि बिल्डिंग सर्विसेज की फील्ड में जो है मतलब क्या कौन से सब्जेक्ट्स इंपॉर्टेंट है जो इस फील्ड में आने के लिए आपको पता होने चाहिए बैचलर्स के लिए?
Honestly, this is a very specific question, and I like you said, because we've got a very broad audience, answering a building services specific question wouldn't be useful to most students. I mean, it's just generally the same. It's thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, the very core sort of mechanical subjects. I think that's the same case in most masters. It's usually the core subjects that you need to be good at. Again, I think one of the subjects I had, the worst grade in was fluid dynamics, and I went on to do a PhD in it. So, you should think about them, but they don't necessarily dictate that if you've got a bad grade in a subject, you can't do a master's on a PhD in it. It's just a phase. You might not like it in your bachelor's, and you might love it in your master's or PhD.
So I mean, you just want to say if even if you have a bad grade, that doesn't mean you cannot just continue in that area. You should give a try.
Absolutely, I would say your GPA has no representation of your skills as a person. I'm going to be a bit candid here, but I remember I had higher GPA than you, Imran. But I can say it with certainty that you are a better engineer than I am. We have another friend, Farhan. I remember, I'm pretty sure he had a GPA even worse than both of us. Yet he is a brilliant engineer. I think in our batch he was one of the brilliant engineers. If you go to him now, the kind of things he does at his home and the kind of things he creates is amazing. He's here in the UK. And he's working in a research body that makes projects for companies such as Rolls-Royce and NASA. Now, a person who's got such a low grade, people in society might tell him that your GPA is really low. Yet he is working with one of the most best mechanical engineering companies in the world, in the UK. So GPA has absolutely no representation of your real life skills.
I see, I got it, okay.
Yeah.
So now let's come down to the real question. Actually, what made you start your own business? Why not just, job में अच्छे खासे पैसे मिल रहे थे आराम से लाइफ एंजॉय करते मतलब ना कोई हेक्टिक और ना कुछ. Why business?
Okay, so that's, I think I came at a point, I remember I was exactly 30 years old at the time. I just turned 30 and something happens when you go from 20 and you become 30, like when you see the result, you feel like, okay, I'm now getting old. I remember I had just turned 30 and I had my daughter on the way. We were going to have her in a few months, and I thought, I'm going to become a father now. And at the time, I was supporting my family back in Pakistan. I was supporting myself, my wife. We had a daughter on the way, and I thought, well, my salary is not going to cut it. Basically, in a salary, you're just surviving month to month. Then we have enough salary just to get by a month, and especially if you're supporting your parents, then it's really tight. So I thought, to give them a better life, to give my daughter a better life, I need to do something on the side. So it wasn't like I said, okay, job, I'm quitting and business I'm going to start now. It was like, I need to start something on the side. And this is one of the best things in the world right now. You don't have to necessarily quit and start a business. You can start something on the side slowly, experiment a lot. And when it's stabilized enough that it can support your financial needs, you can just go all in and quit your job. So that's what I did. I started my business on the side. I did the business for 2-3 years with my main job, and it was just 2 months ago that I quit my job and I gave my notice. I said I don't want to do this anymore, and I'm now full-time working on my business. So I think it was one, it was a financial requirement. I just needed to financially support myself better, and then secondly, it was more of a philosophical judgment because I had I had turned 30. I had a lot of experience, and I was thinking, I'm an academic, okay? And this is nothing to say about academics or academia being bad. It's just that I didn't feel like if I'm going to stick in academia, that means writing research papers, which I hated to write. It meant that I looked at, what is the peak of the career, and I thought if I'm an RA right now, I'll become a lecturer, then I become senior lecturer, assistant professor, professor, maybe a dean of department. And when you're choosing your career, and if you're curious, should I stick to this or not? Look at the person who is at the height, at the end of the career, and ask yourself, do I want to be that person? Now, a lot of people want to be that person. I don't want to be a politician, but a lot of people do want to be a politician. So it's less about a universal truth that academia is bad or job is bad or business is good. It's more about who you are as a person. And I thought I would hate to be my professor. I looked at him and I said, I don't want that life. I don't want that pay. I don't want that social structure that he is in. And I said, okay, if this is not me, then obviously I need to change something. My life needs to be something that I enjoy doing, I love doing. And that is why I kind of started to move away from academia, started looking for other things.
All right, got it. Okay. So it comes down to what's your own temperament, and then you should focus on what you feel like rather than just following the mob, or you can say following the trend. So okay.
Yeah, I think self understanding is probably like a superpower. Essentially, if an analogy I love to give is once you're graduating from your undergrad, basically all your students consider yourself like animals. Okay. And some of you are like birds, and you should think about flying. You need to be in the skies. And if you're really good in swinging trees, then you're monkeys, and you should stay in the jungle. And some of you are fish, and then you need to stay in the ocean, stay in the waters. It's very interesting to think, oh well, I really like the way birds fly, but if you're a fish, you shouldn't fly. Or if you're a fish, you shouldn't think about swinging the trees. When you find out who you are, what you like, then you need to focus completely on your element and where you can prosper the more, and not think about what others are doing or what is hot right these days. Right now, one of I think the bad things about this generation is due to the internet, you are distracted by so many things. Should I be an influencer? Should I be an actor? Should I be a YouTuber? Should I have cryptocurrency? Should I be in the stock exchange? Should I be a business? Should I go on Amazon? Should I do dropshipping? You've got 1,000 things bombarded at you, and it might, and at the end, you might feel overwhelmed because you're thinking, what should I go in? And I think the way to eliminate most of the distraction is understanding who you are. I'm a creative person. I know this since forever, and although I was pushed into engineering, what I do now in my business, which I enjoy doing the most, is product design, and it takes the element of engineering and art, and combining those into something that I love doing. Now I can, for example, I don't look at stock exchange, for example, because that's all charts and all day you're looking at screens and buying and selling stuff. Now I'm not saying people don't make money on that, and a lot of times, especially in these days, you're hearing so much about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and all this, and it seems very interesting. But if you're not an analytical person, you're a creative person, then you shouldn't even bother about those things. Now, I must put a disclaimer. I have invested in Bitcoin. I just did it out of pure curiosity. I'm not actively, trading in there. Just put some money in there and just left it to see what happens. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, so coming to the next question, actually we've got some questions as well, but वो बिल्कुल हम end में जो है ये सारे questions हम read करेंगे and one by one we'll try to answer that. So basically, what were the initial struggles in the business? जब आपने start किया तो how do you feel about कि अगर मैं इससे करता तो मतलब start में feel होता है कि यार ये अभी ये कमी मेरे में रह गई थी bachelors में जो अब मुझे feel हो रही है, मुझे struggle करना पड़ रहा है. तो वो what were those things?
Okay, there's no such thing as initial struggles in business. There are only struggles in business. If it's the initial stage or last stage, you always have struggles. And When you are starting, there are small problems, and when you grow, your problems grow as well. I think you need to have a certain temperament of uh, being interested in solving problems. And I think as engineers, we are in the perfect environment, because although we don't realize, and we've been learning like 40 subjects, we are probably, if you were to say which trade knows how to solve problems, that would be engineers. So I think engineers are in probably the best position to become businessmen, because problem solving is what we do. But that is not to say, mothers who have never gone to high school are also doing businesses. So I think you just need to love solving problems. If you love doing that, then business every single day is a problem. Marketing, how do I market better? How do I improve my product? How do I get more customers? How do I like every single day you're just improving your business. Now that's how you grow. So if you're not interested in solving problems, probably business is not for you. You need to probably stay in a job, because in a job there aren't a lot of problems. You kind of learn a few things, and then you just kind of do those skills repetitively. Another analogy I love to give is, again, considering the fish, there are fish that live in a fish tank in a home, and then there are fish that go and live in the ocean. And the fish that live in a fish tank, they're safe from predators. There's nobody, no other fish trying to eat them there. They don't have to find their food. An owner comes and gives them the food at certain times. That's like your boss giving you a salary at a certain time. And you just do your fish thing, like your kind of job that you have, and just keep on doing that, and you get the food, and then you're safe, nice and safe there. Now, being in the ocean, on the other hand, is quite a big endeavor, because there are predators, there are sharks and whales that can eat you up at any time. So every single day, you are at the risk of being eaten. But the benefits are that you have got the vastness of the ocean. You can pretty much do anything that you want. You can wake up anytime you want. Obviously, COVID has changed that for most jobs now. But in businesses, you can take any day off. You can dictate how much salary you want to take for yourself. You can do what you enjoy doing. So there are pros and cons to both. What you need to realize is, what am I? Am I a fish for the fish tank, or am I a fish that wants to live in the ocean? My brother, who's in Australia right now, he does a 9-to-5 job, and it's not about me trying to convince him or give him hacks or tips to become a businessman. His temperament is to do a job. Again, I'm saying there's nothing wrong with it. He just knows himself, and he does that, and he enjoys it. And I am a business person, and I enjoy doing business, and I just live in the ocean, and we both are enjoying our lives because we are in our elements. What would be wrong is if he's trying to get into business and me trying to get into a job, then we both will be quite sad in our lives. Yeah.
Okay. So, I'll move on to the next question. Why business? Why not job? I think you've already answered this question because you wanted to have a better life for your family and all that. I'll move to the next question. What is most important for the business, technical skill or your communication skills?
Both irrelevant. Both are good to have, but they are not necessary.
ये दिस क्वेश्चन एक्चुअली मैं इसलिए पूछ रहा हूँ कि आजकल एक बहुत ज़्यादा वो चला हुआ है पाकिस्तान में जी, एक वो कह लें कि जो इतनी टॉक्स होती हैं, बहुत मोटिवेशन की टॉक्स होती हैं कि हर जगह बस जी आप में मोटिवेशन होनी चाहिए, मतलब वो स्किल्स की तो कोई बात ही नहीं कि बस होना चाहिए, बस कुछ करके दिखाना है, बस कुछ करके, चाहे स्किल है कि नहीं, फिर जो कुछ करके दिखाते तो फिर वो हो नहीं पाता बेसिकली. तो इस तरह कुछ मसले मसाइल आ रहे हैं हमारे. तो क्या डोंट यू थिंक कि स्किल्स भी जरूरी हैं और आपकी बुक्स भी समवट जरूरी होती हैं कि नहीं बस सिर्फ स्किल होना चाहिए, आपको थ्योरी की कोई जरूरत नहीं पड़ती? क्योंकि ये बड़ा एक अजीब सा पाकिस्तान में आजकल कि नहीं जी बस थ्योरी की या किताबों की जरूरत नहीं है. तो क्या डू यू थिंक नेशंस डू गो फॉरवर्ड लाइक दिस विदाउट बुक्स?
Okay, so I can say one thing and a motivational speaker can say another thing. And they're opinions basically, and opinions can go any which way. So let's look at objective truths. Let's pick a few examples and see what those examples tell us. Right now in the world, the US is, you could argue, is probably the leader in the free world. Okay, it's like the highest country that you can think of. And in the US, let's think the biggest job that you can get is to become a US president. Okay, so that's the most difficult job to get into. Okay, Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he wasn't a politician, so he had no technical skills of being how to become a politician, and he had no communication skills. Actually, if you look at his Twitter or his videos and stuff, he's probably the worst communicator in the world. He lies, he exaggerates things. He's not eloquent in communication. For example, how Obama was. So even though he was not a good communicator, and he is not, didn't have technical skills of being a politician like Clinton did or Obama did, who like went from being a senator all the way to president. He just said, "I'm going to become president," and the whole world laughed at him. The whole U.S. government laughed at him. But because he had two things, and those two things are, I think, the ingredients for success, is one, you need to be extremely passionate about what you want to get done. And secondly, you need to have a drive or work ethic to get that done. I see a lot of people who are passionate about a lot of things. They like, one day they are passionate about one thing, another day they're about passionate, but they don't have the drive to actually stick to one and do the work. And then there are a lot of people who are really good at their job. They work a lot, but they hate what they do. And they do reach like higher posts, but because they hate it, they don't excel as much as they could. So that's one example. Okay, let's take another example. For example, let's take Abdul Sattar Eidi. That person didn't have communication skills. And he didn't understand how charities work and how organizations are set up and what a general manager is, what operation manager is. He just had a drive that I want to create the biggest charity or help people. And then he had the actual drive to do that for years. So it's not only business. In any endeavor, you want to start charity, you want to do some religious work, you want to do some business job. The only two things that you need are 50% is hard work, 45% is having passion for that hard work, and then 5% I would give to luck, because some people just also get hit by luck. But the problem is, our people kind of focus all on that lucky part, and they're like playing, or they're just trying to throw their CVs to everybody, and they just feel like hoping that they get lucky. And that, trying to put all your bet on that 5%, I think, is the worst plan ever. You should focus on the 50% and the 45% to really increase your chances of winning. So I would say anything else. I mean, you can take Malik Riaz, for example. Again, I'm not saying these people are amazing at what they do, but I'm just saying these are examples in front of you in Pakistan. Who Malik Riaz isn't highly educated. He didn't come from the UK with a PhD in architecture or something. And technically, he wasn't any better than any other, constructor in Pakistan. We had a drive to create these model towns and stuff, and look where he is right now. He's probably one of the richest people in the world, so in Pakistan. So there are these two ingredients. If you are not passionate, and if you don't have a work ethic, then you will always be mediocre. And if you have those two things, you can always pick up on technical skills. You can always pick up on communication skills. Those are nice terms that motivational speakers use. And that's their opinion. I have my own opinions, but objective truth is you need these two things.
Got it. Okay. So what advice to the student who want to start their own business and they just for example कि लोग बिल्कुल like कोई बंदा graduate हुआ नया और he want to start his own business. So what advice would you like to give to him or her?
Well, I would say this is a great time to start a business. You might be thinking, well, there's COVID out there and all these bad things. But ideally, this is like the best time in the history of mankind to start a business, because the capital required to start a business is quite low. And secondly, the entire market is now available to you. So just 30 years ago, if somebody wants to start a business, okay, let's say I want to start a business, I needed to go and get a shop, rent out a shop in Sadr or Arbab Road somewhere. I need to buy a lot of stock from China, from Faisalabad or somewhere. I need to do that. I need to hire salespeople. I need to do so many things before anybody has even stepped in my shop. Whereas now you can set up a Shopify store or an Amazon account or any such, even a Facebook group page, and you can start marketing to married women in the US. And you can start selling them, I don't know, some things for your babies. You can no longer say, well, Pakistan has a small market or people are not buying here, you can pretty much sell to anybody out there. If you're good at it, like people are booming their businesses right now. But if you are not good at business, then it's a perfect excuse to say, well, there's COVID out there and I'm living in Pakistan and there are not opportunities there. You can make excuses all day long.
Okay, got it. I see. Okay, so the last question, we come to the last question, and after that, I'll be taking the question answer that we have got quite a lot of questions. The same thing, how to deal with COVID crisis as a student. You know, let me just show you our example of the online teaching. Okay, online teaching में ज़ाहिर बात है, no matter how effective we try to be, वो effectiveness शायद हो सकता है क्योंकि हम भी बिल्कुल नए स्टूडेंट्स भी नए इस चीज़ से गुजर रहे हैं, तो क्या तरीके, क्या वे आउट क्या है कि आपकी ऑनलाइन में लर्निंग स्किल ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा हो जाएं? मतलब वो क्या तरीका है, आप टीचर को क्या एडवाइस करेंगे, आप स्टूडेंट्स को क्या एडवाइस करेंगे कि लर्निंग स्किल्स कैसे ऑनलाइन में हम बढ़ा सकते हैं अपनी, या लर्निंग के जो कहते हैं कि रेट कैसे बढ़ सकता है हमारा?
I would say, one of the good things about the online, this environment that we are in right now is, if it's about learning, I think I think what COVID has done is essentially it has removed all the fluff. I think, I used to get curious how our teachers would teach the same content to us, to section A, and then go repeat to section B, and then repeat to section C, and section D, and section E. It's just ridiculous. The same content 5 times. Doing it once and doing it brilliantly, I think, is the best way to do that. Now, I'm not saying that it's any way better than having face-to-face, contact and being in the class. But there are things that are not in your control. COVID is here, and people are going to be doing a lot of things online. And it's just not teaching. Like, governments are trying to sort out how they're going to do governance online. Banks are trying to understand how they're going to do that. Businesses are trying to figure out how they're going to do business online. I think this is really good for students, because for the first time, it's not just them trying to figure out what they're going to do with their life. Pretty much every institution in the world right now is trying to figure out how to do things online. And that means they have the opportunity to sit there and spend the next 2-3 years just experimenting. If a student would graduate, he would get so focused on the logistical part that he would get too narrow too quickly. For example, somebody graduated, he would get interested in, let's say, applying for a visa to the UAE or Middle East. Then he would go travel there, and then he'll give a CV to a few companies, and one company would hire him, and that's it, he's there. But now you can stay at your home, and because there are no face-to-face interviews, you can give interviews in the Middle East, you can give interviews in Malaysia and in the UK. You can experiment everywhere. When you're talking to people, you kind of get a feel of their environment. You can get to know about their pace. You can experiment how many different job opportunities there are. You can look at business. So I think because everybody's taking a break, it's a really good a breathing space for even students to really figure out while the world is figuring out what to do post-COVID. So I think it's actually not a disadvantage, but actually an advantage for students right now.
Okay, I see, got it. Okay, now I think we'll move on to the question answer sessions, and the first one is by Dr. Saeed Gul, who's actually the director as well. और वही जो क्वेश्चन मैं भी सोच रहा कि the GPA at the start is very important to get into for a competition, and when you go in for an interview, then GPA doesn't matter. What's your opinion? तो इसके background basically ये कि देखिए पाकिस्तान में shortlisting GPA base पे ही होती है. So don't you think GPA is important at some point?
It's a good point. Actually, if you look at industry, pretty much the entire industry is like a spearhead. Okay. You've got the sharp edge, the leading edge, and you've got the trail or the tail at the back. All of the technologically advanced countries and companies, they don't look at GPA. I've told you in my business, I've never asked for a GPA. You can look at companies like Google and Facebook, and these companies, forget about GPA. Google said that even a degree is not required. You're talking about GPA, even a degree is not required. So these are the kind of companies where your GPA doesn't matter, your degree doesn't matter, what you wear doesn't matter, where you're located doesn't matter, all these things. So if you're planning on going to those companies, these things don't matter. Now, if you're looking at the lagging industries, for example, current industries in Pakistan, then yes, your GPA matters. What you wear to the job matters. In Google, you can go in hoodie, but in a lagging company, you need to have a tie and you need to be presentable and stuff like that. In Google and all these companies, there are no fixed working hours. You can come at any time, you can go at any time. Whereas in lagging industries, you need to be there from 9 to 5. So I'm saying if you have a good GPA, it might help you in the lagging companies. But those students who have got a bad GPA don't feel like the entire world is looking at GPAs. Only the lagging industries look at GPA. The leading industries don't look at your GPA. What they look at is your talent. They don't look at your religion. Nowadays, they don't look at which country you're from because everybody is working from home. So you can be in Pakistan, and if you're talented, they'll hire you. Nobody looks at your degree. I have not in my entire life applied for a job, given an interview, somebody's asked me for a GPA, or anything. And then when I came on to the hiring side, I've never asked that question from anybody. But that's because I'm in the UK. So I'm not saying that applies to Pakistan. Yeah, if you're applying to OGDCL and PIAS and all the, missile ordnance factories, they might ask you these things. But then everybody, like I told you, like there are people in our batch who had really bad GPAs who are working with Rolls-Royce and NASA. So the GPA is not representative. So if you've got a bad GPA, there is hope. Just apply to better companies, more advanced companies. But if you've got a good GPA, then yeah, you have a good chance at getting hired in a country like Pakistan.
I see. Okay. So the next question, it's not question, just I think compliment that by Sajid Khan Mansoor. He's saying he's in an online business and earning just like a lab engineer. They're good to see that, Sajid Khan. Okay, question is this, dear sir, by Aslan Afridi, dear sir, please ask him that we are not clarified about our goals. Sometimes we have a lot of alternatives and so we get confused over there. So how to focus on goals?
I would say if you want to learn about yourself, there are different ways of doing that. First of all, ask your friends. In our batch, we had students who we knew. This guy is into music. Okay, we knew this guy is into airplanes. We know this guy is a poet. This guy is a comedian. So in your batch, people will you can ask your friend, like when they think about your name, what comes to their mind? And this is probably one of the brilliant things about this world right now. Like, if you look at the history of careers, like again, objective truth, if you look at the history of careers, for probably millennia, the only career there was being a hunter. If you're not a good hunter, you would probably die. Okay. Then people almost 15,000 years ago learned farming, and they said, okay, we can move on to open lands, and we can grow our own crops. And then people, all of them, there was no career option. You just became a farmer. Your parents would tell you become a farmer. They would teach you all the skills of becoming a farmer, and then you would teach that to your next generation. And then from 15,000 years ago until the Industrial Revolution, pretty much everybody focused on being a farmer. 95% of the population were farmers. Then post the Industrial Revolution, that's when career options and all these kind of things come into place. But they were still limited in you either became a doctor, engineer, lawyer, all these things, and that's what our parents told us. Become a doctor, engineer. But since the 2000s, there has been such an exponential, breakout of career options that were not even existent when we were doing our masters. That was just 10, 12 years ago. Nobody, right now, if you ask Generation Z, like what the highest or the most in-demand career they want to become, the person they want to become is, I want to become a YouTuber. Now that job doesn't even exist 10 years ago. I mean, when we were small, you would say, I want to become an astronaut, I want to become, I don't know, vet or something. But now people want to become YouTubers. So the change has been so exponential in the last since 2000 that the advice that our parents gave us doesn't apply anymore. So forget about even me giving you advice. The advice I give you is not going to be relevant 5 or 10 years from now. So the only thing that people are looking at the work and how work trends are going to evolve, in the future, we know one thing for certain, that change is going to be the name of the game. You have to forget about you becoming a banker and at the end of your career, retiring as a banker. People will have to be willing to learn skills every 5 years and reinventing themselves. And through the course of your career, you won't just be a doctor or just be an engineer or just be something. You will have to keep reinventing yourself because the world is changing so fast that there's so many jobs are going to become obsolete anyways. So I would say for understanding yourself, first of all, ask your friends who, what kind of person you are. Secondly, look at your behaviors. Open your YouTube history and look at what sort of videos you're looking at. If you look at videos of politics all the time, then you're interested in politics. If you're looking at sports all the time, you're interested in sports and being an athlete. If you're interested in creative stuff, or if you're watching videos about videography all the time and how to make nice videos and stuff, well, you're interested in being a videographer. And again, like I said, the bar of getting into your field is so low, because if you wanted to become an actor, for example, you used to spend 10 years outside the studio of Bollywood or Hollywood and pray and hope for a chance that you become an extra in a movie. Now what you need to do is just pick up your phone, record yourself, and put your video on YouTube. And if you're really a good actor and you polish your talent, then the companies and dramas and movies will come to you and hire you. So you don't have to wait on somebody else now. If you're good, you can do stuff on your own. The level of entry is so low. The question is, are you willing to put in the work? The question of how to do is no longer there. You can pretty much find answer to anything online. The question is not how to do it. The question is, will you do it?
Okay, got it. Okay, so the next question is a bit lengthy, but just let me read out to you. Tell us about what product do you design? Maybe if you're interested to tell us, it would be good. What tools and skills are needed in the market to focus being a computer engineer? Okay, if you want to answer because you're a mechanical engineer, but still if you want to answer, you can just go for that. Where to learn from, where and how to bring projects from the industry? What is the first step for a fresh graduate to become an entrepreneur? And how is the freelancing trend, which most of our students are after these days?
Okay, that's probably 6 questions in there.
Yeah, if you can, can you see the questions? It's by Dr. Tufail Khan.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can just read out there. Yeah.
Tell us about what product do you design. So I started, and this is how most of the companies go, is you start off with something basic, and then you grow it into something amazing. I started off selling just normal notebooks and journals and office products, and then I moved from that into tools for productivity. And now we are in a place where we are focusing on people's mental health. So it can be, let's say, a mom at home and she wants to manage her kids and her home and all the stuff she wants to do. We create products for them. If it's somebody who's about to get married and they want to plan out their wedding and stuff, we create products for that. If it's an entrepreneur and they need to stay on top of their job and all the kind of things they want to do and managing teams, we create products for them. And then there are people who are depressed and stressed and have anxiety, especially in the Western countries, and we create products for them. So I've moved from being like physical products to now helping people with their mental mindset. So that's kind of the the mental health areas where our business is. We are right now selling in the US, Canada, entire Europe, Japan, Australia, and just started Singapore 2 months ago. So it's kind of like pretty much we were very Western, but now we're kind of expanding all over the world.
So you are into like digital products, software, apps,
both physical and digital, yes.
Okay, I got it. Okay. So his next question is, if you have any idea where to bring projects from the industry or how to bring projects from the industry, because you have spent time in university, and so what was that way of bringing in the project from the industry? Like you have worked with Tata and Mitsubishi as well. So if you can just share some experience with us.
It's pretty easy. The answer is really easy.
Based on your experience, like
pulling it off is really hard. So but I have been successful because I've been able to get these projects from these industries. Um, Students or researchers usually focus on, well, I need to write a really good proposal, and I need to really make a nice CV, or I need to do all these. And these are all like, that's, it's not the truth. Okay, go look at it from the industry's perspective. What does an industry want to do? If I have a factory, okay, if I have a factory, or if I have a company, what do I want to do? Either I want to make more money, or I want to save money in my operations. If you can come to me and say, I can do one of those two things, and you're not saying I can do it, you have a tangible plan of how you think you can do it, I will listen to you. Let's say a graduate has just graduated from UET, and he says, I want to get an experience in a factory here in Peshawar or neighboring areas. You can go around to all these factories and give your CV to them, and pray and hope that somebody says, oh yeah, I'm going to give you an internship, or I'm going to give you a job. But nobody does that. Why? Because a factory is thinking, why should I hire you? Why should I give you a salary? You're increasing my costs. Why should I give you? Why should I hire you? But if you, instead of going to 50 factories and giving them your CVs, go to a factory that you really want to work at, and try to meet whoever, the owner or whatever, and tell them, I'm going to come to your factory for 30 days. I don't want your money. I don't want any facilities from you. Just for 30 days, let me in. At the end of the 30 days, I will either help you make more money, or I will help you cut down some costs. Do that for 30 days. And you being an engineer, we kind of have very so low self-esteem in Pakistan. We think that I'm not good enough, and I need to know advanced calculus and do all those things to be able to fix stuff. Honestly, a factory owner has no idea, and doesn't have the exposure that a student does. So all you have to do is go in there for 30 days, look at his processes, and after 30 days, tell him, just make the workers work here more, or move the stations here, or do this thing, and it will save you some money, or give him some sort of a proposal that how you can make more money. And if you really help them, if you really have a plan, tell them, here's a plan, you can buy it from me. And he might say, oh, I don't want to buy this from you. But this is the dilemma. Every business owner will never say no to money. It can't be that you have a plan for me by which I make money, and you say, I did that in 30 days. Imagine what I can do if I work for you for any year. So the question is no longer about, people focus on what sort of CV template I need to have, and how do I need to approach them, should I email? These are irrelevant things. If you can solve the problem, if you can solve the problem for them, they will hire you. So that is the way you work in a local factory in Peshawar, or you go to Tata Steel and Mitsubishi. When we had that competition, I'm pretty sure all these European other people who were competing with me did have amazing plans, and they might have written really good English. Their reports might be beautiful. They might have lots of connections. But I looked at, what does Mitsubishi want? They want their air conditioners in Europe. They want to somehow install it. And in my report, I just focused on that. And if you show a company that this is the way of how you can make money in 3 months, trial, they'll gladly fund you for 3 years, because if you can do that in 3 months, they think 3 years is amazing. So now I do that in my business as well. Like I said, I never asked for CVs and stuff. I just got to get on a call. I said, you think you want to apply for this job? How do you think you can contribute? And if all they have to say is some right things to me, and that's it. They're hired that day. There's no contract. There's no nothing. All this fluff. And I'm not telling them to send me their CV now or stuff, or where you locate. If you can solve me the problem, you're hired. I remember, this is a sideline, but just 6 months ago, I hired a lady here in the UK. And let's say I agreed that I'm going to pay her X. Okay, let's say that was the salary. After 2 months, I started paying her 2x. And now, after 6 months, I'm paying her 3x. So she has tripled her salary in 6 months' time. Now, as a business, I should, in a normal company, you get, double your salary in maybe 10 years' time. Why has she tripled her salary in 6 months' time? Because she's helped me make so much money. The last thing I want is to give her less money and she quits or something. I want to keep her. Talent. People think good jobs are disappearing. That is true. But good talent is also missing. There's so many graduates, but people who are really committed to helping you is also diminishing. So even so companies are struggling to find good graduates.
Okay, got it. Okay, so his last part of his question is, how is the freelancing trend which most of our students are offered these days? He's talking about this freelancing, yeah.
I think it's one of the best things there is right now. If you're a person who is struggling, you don't have a lot of money, you just want to learn, start freelancing. That is the best thing to do. You can learn all the skills on YouTube, literally anything. You can learn Facebook ads, you can learn social media management, you can learn pretty much any skill out there you can learn on YouTube, and then start selling it through freelancing. And through that experience, not only will start getting money, but don't focus on the money initially. Just get a job. And then after 3 months, after 6 months, when you actually work for somebody and learn tangible skills, then you can start increasing your salary to that person or get another client, and you can stay in freelancing. Or if you feel like, well, I've learned a lot about business now, I want to start my own venture, you can do that. But I think freelancing is the best way to have no risk and have high benefits stacked towards you.
Okay, so yeah, I got it. So next, I'll combine two questions. What are the steps to start as an entrepreneur? And the same was by Dr. Tufail, that what is the first step for a fresh graduate to become an entrepreneur? I think you've answered that already, but just quickly, if you can just go through the steps. Like I just graduated and I don't know what to do. So how would you just tell me what to do?
Okay, so first of all, there are no steps to graduate to entrepreneurship. Anything that is worthwhile. For example, you go to Picasso or you go to Leonardo da Vinci and you tell him what are the steps to become an amazing painter. Or if you go to Einstein, think what are the steps to becoming a great scientist. That's the thing about art. Art is, there are no steps. It can't. There's no recipe for being
Dr. Faisal.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry for interrupting. Let me add one more thing to this question, and then you can continue with your answer.
Yeah.
How can I come to know? You just gave the example of your brother who is in Australia and he is doing some job, and you are a businessman. Mm-hmm. How am I going to judge myself and assess myself and decide about myself whether I'm fit for entrepreneurship or not?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I would say, think of it, like, again, I'm going to give you an analogy. Think of it like having a buffet of food in front of you. Okay, I know it's Ramadan and everybody's got empty stomachs right now, but just go with the example. Think of it as a buffet, okay? And you've got all these dishes in front of you. You've got spicy food, you've got mild food, you've got meat focused food, vegetarian stuff. The things that people do is they first of all ask other people what they should do. So it's like asking people, should I eat spicy food? Should I eat mild food? Well, somebody who loves spicy food will say, oh yeah, definitely go for spicy food. And if there's another person, he would say, oh, definitely go for mild food or go for vegetarian. So if you ask me, what should I do? I'd say, oh, go to become an entrepreneur. Okay, so that's you asking other people, and they've got their own biases. That's one wrong thing you can do, is ask people. The second thing you can do is overanalyze things, which is, I'm thinking, oh, this spicy food and that causes ulcer, and there's this vegetarian food, but it has got no proteins, and there's this meat and that causes cancer, and just overanalyzing and not tasting anything. That's another wrong thing you can do. And then the third thing you do is overcommitting. For example, I say, well, the spicy food is closest to me, so I'm going to put all the spicy food onto my plate, and you overcommit to it. And that's what happened with a lot of graduates. They come out and they feel this pressure that I need to get a job, and they go to the Middle East, and oh, it's a petroleum engineering, and okay, they're giving me a job, and then that's it. For the rest of their life, they're a petroleum engineer because they've never tasted anything. So the ideal thing for you to do is not ask people, because that is not relevant to you. Not overcommit to something, because then you have to eat nothing else. You have to finish that food only. And third is not to overanalyze things. The best thing to do is to go around the table and taste a little bit of each thing. And I think, like the previous person asked, freelancing is amazing for this. You can go to a freelancing website and make a profile of yourself as a videographer. You can make yourself profile as Amazon or e-commerce assistant. You can go and make a profile about being a marketing person, and then you get jobs. And make your rate really, really low, because you just want to get a job. You just want to get a gig. And taste it. Do you love making videos? Do you love doing marketing? That can be done. That's the great thing about this COVID era. You don't need to apply for a visa, fly to Middle East, get there, find accommodation. At your home, when you graduate, in 3 months, you can have applied to all these different genres and tasted 3 different categories within 3 months, and actually got a taste of all these different genres. And you might find, oh, I'm a creative person. I just love being a creative person. And then you get into things to do with creativity. But maybe you find I'm really good at Excel spreadsheets and I like doing operations and stuff. Like, business doesn't mean you have to be creative. Like, in business, there are a lot of people with a lot of skills. Like, I'm not an analytical person. I hate spreadsheets. I am worse at, doing my accounting and taxation stuff. But there are people who love doing it. I know my friends who are great at operations and technical and being analysts, but they hate being creative, and I love being creative. So I would say taste all the dishes. And the good thing is you don't need to spend money. You don't need to fly anywhere. The question is, do you want to do it? You don't even have to invest in anything. Not in your time, not your mind. Just create profiles and just say yes to everything. And once you say yes to everything and taste a few things, 5 things, 10 things, you will learn about yourself. You learn if I'm an analytical person, am I a marketing person, am I a legal person, am I an operation person, do I love making products, do I love talking to customers, do I like managing other people? You will find out only once you get the experience of tasting the dishes. You cannot sit and look at dishes and get a taste of them. There's no way of doing it. Only by tasting do you know, okay, I love spicy food.
Okay, I hope it answers the question, Dr. Saab. Okay, next question is by Muhammad Abbas. He's asking that most of students of the UET are from poor family background, and a good job is the only way for them to breathe. So how can they enter into business without any investment, where his entire family is expecting a quick financial help from him? Yeah, and that you already know, because UET में आपने देखा कि mostly students background इतने strong financial background वाकई में नहीं होते. So how would you suggest कि क्या करें कि quickly जो है ना ये कुछ earn करना शुरू कर दें?
We just talked about it. There's this person in Karachi. It's called Sunny Ali. He's got a huge Facebook page called Extreme Commerce by Sunny Ali. And what he does is anybody who is earning less than 60,000 rupees per month, he gives free training to them to become virtual assistants. Okay, and by learning those skills, you get clients here in the UK, in the US. Like people like me hire you. While you're staying at home, I start paying you the basic pay. Basic pay is $500 per month. $500 per month. That's the basic pay. Now, $500 per month is almost 1 lakh rupees. Okay, you start right away. I don't know how much, but I remember when you were graduating, engineers' pay would be 30,000, 60,000 at most. Now you can get one client and start earning 1 lakh rupees. And if you do a good job, you can just hire, get another client, and suddenly you've doubled your income, and you're earning 2 lakh rupees. 2 lakh rupees is something that people, when they do a master's and they do a PhD, like that takes 4 or 5 years. You fly back to Pakistan and you join a university. They give you 2 lakh rupees as your salary. You just did that in a span of 6 months. So the training was free. You don't have to invest in anything. You just needed to learn the skill and then find clients, and both of which you can do from your home. And within 6 months, you can start. If you start paying 2 lakh rupees in Pakistan, I don't see how any parent can say this is not good enough, because that's much higher than any engineering job that you get in Pakistan.
Okay, got it. So Mohammed Abbas, I hope you got the answer. Main thing is he's talking about the digital marketing field, digital marketing and then you can be hired as a virtual assistant and quickly earn money. Okay, the next question is by Arvaz Khatak. Skills and tools needed in industry as a mechanical engineer. I think that is quite a broad question. I don't know how would you answer that. If you can just what would you advise?
It's like asking. It's a very sort of a broad question. The way to answer is very vague. Like that's, if a 5-year-old asks you, if I grow up, what skill should I have to grow up, when I grow? How do you answer that? It's very much, environment, case specific sort of a question, and I can give you XYZ answer that wouldn't apply to you at all. And like I said, my brother, like we grew up in the same household. We had the same parents. We are from the same country, same religion, same everything. But he is in Australia. I'm in the UK. Our environments are completely different. The skills we want are completely different. So he's an engineer as well. I'm not saying he's a medical. Like, we both are engineers. To think we both should have had the same sort of skills is kind of not really true. Everybody needs to learn skills. And like I said, it was a time when your parents told you do this, and that would be enough skills for the rest of your life. But right now, the skills I have right now in my business, 10 years from now, that won't apply at all. That just won't apply. So even you shouldn't like take even your advice for the rest of your life. You have to just keep on learning every day and just evolving the way the world is evolving. Like 2 years ago, there was no COVID. Now COVID has hit you. What happens to business? Do you think 2 years ago, the Faisal 2 years ago can give me advice? No. Only I, who have experienced this thing and have adapted myself, can really know how to move forward. So yeah, I can't give you an advice that would be useful to you.
Okay. So we have another question. Does we can observe that with respect to the time, more and more people are getting engaged with freelancing. Would you like to tell us about the future of freelancing? I mean, the traffic is getting more and more, and so don't you really think that there should be some inevitable opportunity issues? You're just talking about the more and more people become virtual assistants and all that. So is there any way out other than freelancing? Do you think there's another alternative to that for quick money?
Freelancing is a mode of work. It isn't an industry. Like you can become there are people who become like a virtual assistant who just who manage people's lives. Like there are Americans who don't want to pay their bills, don't want to make appointments, and you can just manage their life, pay their bills on time, pay their gardener on time. That's a VA. And then people who hire people for their businesses. Like I hire Americans for helping me design a product. But that's completely different. You just need to be good at one thing and do that really, really well for a long time, and people will hire you. They will hire you for higher money. But if you in the beginning, yeah, there will be competition, and you have to stand out by two things. There's two ways to stand out in the market. You either are the cheapest or you are the best. So try to pick one direction. Either become the cheapest and say yes to one. And in the beginning, you should do that because you can't be the best at the beginning. So just take any sort of gig that you can. But as soon as you get gigs, start becoming the best that you can be, so that you can really start charging higher money.
Okay, I see. Got it. Okay, I think we have consumed a lot of time. We have some questions. So what we will do is that after this session ends, we'll follow up these questions and we'll try to put comments in in the comment section. We're trying to answer that. With that, I'd like to thank Dr. Faisal, Dr. Safdar, Dr. Said Gul, who is not present with us, but due to some technical issues. But I can see his comment here. He is congratulating Team CDC, and he is thanking Dr. Faisal as well. Apart from this, I would also like to tell you guys that we do have a lot of other topics as well, just like, for example, personal grooming, interviewing skills, and job hunting, and scholarship hunting. And we'll be organizing them time after time. So this was just the first webinar of its type, and I pardon if there has been some glitches in that, but to the audience. But I hope you enjoyed and you really had a good time. So with that, I'd like to end the session. And Dr. Safdar Marwat, would you like to say something, some concluding remarks?
Thank you very much, Dr. Imran. In the end, I would like to thank Dr. Faisal for sparing his time and giving us and our students some really good and wonderful tips. And the way he explained things, at least I got many things clear in my mind. I had several confusions, and now I think I can see my own future in a much better perspective and in a much better way. So thank you very, very much, Dr. Faisal, for giving us your time. And also thanks to all the audience who participated. And I think this is, for me, it is a successful event because the number of concurrent people has always been very much up to the mark. So congratulations to all those who organized this.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to end the session. And in the end, again, I would like to thank Dr. Saeed Gul, who is not present. And I wish he was here and he could give his welcome remark, but I hope he'd be present in the next seminar that we would be arranging. So thank you so much, everyone, and thank you again.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.